Welcome to Dundalk TV as we continue our Black History Month. And tonight we're going to be checking out a Prageru video that deals with the top 5 issues facing Black America. Prager University does great videos and they are very informative and they give very honest opinions. They put out the truth. So let's start this video and we will be commenting as we go through the video on different parts of the information that they're sharing.
What are the 5 biggest issues facing blacks in America? Here's my list. Problem number 5, the victim mentality. Nothing holds someone back more than seeing himself as a victim. Why? Because a victim is not responsible for his situation. Everything is someone else's fault. And the victim sees little chance of improving his life. How can he get ahead if someone is holding him back? All this makes the victim unhappy, frustrated, and angry. This is how too many blacks see themselves, as victims. So much so that their victim status becomes their primary identity and their ruling ideology. I call it victimology. Unfortunately, many black churches preach this victimology. Many black parents pass it on to their children. Inner city schools teach it to their students, and the black media reinforce it. Meanwhile, the NAACP and other black grievance groups fundraise on it. Problem number 4.
If you've been following along as Dundalk TV is making these videos the last few days, you would have seen Derek STROMAN sharing information last night, and one of the things we discussed was this video, and he said that it was spot on and that it was very difficult to see this video because it put out so much information that showed a negative light on the black community, and he wanted more of a positive. And I had shared with him that it is a positive when you are recognizing that there's a problem and then doing your best to change that, because you have to admit that there is a problem before you can change it. So I'm glad he liked this video, and he did feel that it was accurate. Many of the things he heard in this video was accurate, and even what we just heard he felt was accurate. So let's continue the video, and we'll make some more comments as we go along.
Blacks repeatedly demand an honest dialogue or debate about race. But how can there ever be an honest dialogue about race between blacks and whites when there is virtually no honest dialogue between blacks and blacks? It's hypocritical. And if a black doesn't think whites are ultimately responsible for black people's problems, they're labeled a sellout, Uncle Tom, or race traitor. As long as this type of groupthink exists, race reverends of the Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson type will continue to be celebrated, while independent black thinkers such as Professors Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams will be shunned. The honest race dialogue and debate that first has to happen is not between blacks and whites, but between blacks and blacks. We demand diversity from others, but need to practice it ourselves where it really matters, in thought, opinion, and even political affiliation. Problem number 3.
Well, Mr. Starks is correct about the problems of having the peer pressure of people saying different kinds of names and things of that nature. It not only occurs in the black community, but it also occurs in the white community. And I had shared with Derek that when people start talking racially like that, I just let them know that I don't have a hood in my closet, because I'm not interested in talking that way. And I'm still friends with the people. I mean, they're not over the top or anything, but it's pretty common to hear people talking that way. Not everywhere I go, not everybody's like that, but from time to time you do hear people talking that way, and I just let them know that I don't condone that kind of talking, and that's not what I'm about. So thing of it is people need to stand up, and they need to let people know that this is totally unacceptable and they don't feel that way. And that's how you change things. So not only does the white community need to do that, but also the black community. Certain people, not everybody, certain people. So let's continue on with the video now.
As just about everyone knows, but too few talk about publicly, in majority black cities, violent black-on-black crime is rampant. A Department of Justice study from 1980 through 2008 revealed that blacks accounted for almost half of the nation's homicide victims, 47.4%, and more than half of the offenders, 52.4%, all while being 13% of America's population. The Tuskegee Institute conducted a study of all known lynchings of blacks that occurred between 1882 through 1968. During this 86-year span, which is essentially the post-Civil War era up to the Civil Rights era, 3,446 blacks were reportedly lynched. Presently, black-on-black murder eclipses the number of blacks lynched over the course of 80 years, roughly every 6 months. Unbelievably, the culpability for this disproportionate amount of mayhem actually lies with a menacing 2 to 3% minority within the black populace. I call them urban terrorists. And since they're literally spawned from problem number 2, the black community protects them.
Now let's stop it there. And I want to say that thank goodness there are people out there that are trying their very best to stop this, and that one would be Ceasefire, and another group in Baltimore called Hugs Don't Shoot. I was out with them one day, and they were hugging all kinds of people on the street, and the people were very receptive to it. It was a very good feeling. The mayor of Baltimore came out and saw Miss Jenkins, who runs the group. She does a great job. Have the greatest amount of respect for her for what she does. And these groups need to be supported by the powers that be. They really need to try to help them out the best they can. Ms. Jenkins was talking about opening a center for people that needed help, and she spends a lot of time trying to help other people. And when you have people like this, you need to gravitate, our political figures need to gravitate to them and actually give them assistance, because they are people that can make a big difference. So thank you, Ms. Jenkins, for what you do, and the Ceasefire group as well.
Number 2, proliferation of baby mamas. The disintegration of the nuclear family has led to an astronomical increase of single mother households. According to the Moynihan Report, in 1965, nearly 25% of black children were born to unwed mothers. The report's author, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, said this was a disaster in the making. He was, of course, vilified by so-called black leaders and their progressive allies. But he was right. Today, the out-of-wedlock birth rate is nearly 75%, and even higher in some urban areas. To be clear, baby daddies share this responsibility with baby mamas. Yet, while baby daddies are blamed and rarely shown compassion, baby mamas are rarely blamed and receive both compassion and support. This lopsided dynamic and the previously listed pathologies stem directly from the number one problem facing the black community. Problem number 1, unquestioning allegiance to so-called progressive policies. Unwavering loyalty to progressive liberal policies is the primary reason these dire conditions persist. It both makes them possible and perpetuates them. It's no coincidence that progressivism is the common thread that binds predominantly black cities where single-parent homes, failing schools, rampant poverty, and crime predominate. Look at cities like Detroit, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. They've been run by progressive Democrats for decades. If their liberal policies were at all effective, these cities should have become models of economic growth and prosperity. Instead, they're models of dysfunction. By fostering and exploiting the victim mentality, discouraging self-examination, subsidizing baby mamas, and making excuses for black thugs, so-called progressive policies don't alleviate the problems that afflict the black community. They aggravate those problems. You may have noticed that racism did not make the list. Why not? It's simple. There will be no solution to the problems afflicting Black America until more blacks recognize that the issues plaguing our community are ultimately self-inflicted. Does racism exist? Sure. But there are other problems far more serious. And waiting until there are no more races will mean waiting and making excuses forever. I'm Talib Starks for Prager University.
I'd like to thank Mr. Starks and also Prager University for making this great video. They have many other great videos as well, so please like their page, share their videos. I believe that Prager is doing more to educate our country than anyone else is in America. So thank you very much for that. And just this was a very informative video for me. I remember the first time I watched it, I was totally blown away by the numbers, and it is sad. So the reason that we're sharing this is to help get the message out about the problems that are going on in the Black community and try to wake people up and get things moving in the right direction. I'd like to thank Derek Stroman for um, being involved in helping me out with this month, and look forward to having him on a future video sometime in the very near future. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and I'm going to play the rest of the video, so if you'd like to donate to Prager, that you can.
To subscribe to our YouTube channel, click here. To help keep our videos free, donate here.